CD Projekt Red is woke. They will literally never again achieve anything worthwhile. All their new projects, The Witcher 4 and the new Cyberpunk game, are gonna be a garbage. If you do not know this, well, now you do, I guess. Congratulations, you just got enriched in knowledge. Doesn't that feel nice knowing all the things that you love are slowly dying to wokeness? I bet it does. In any case, before all of that happens, we are gonna experience some absolutely prime real estate Witcher 3 DLC that is gonna set the foundation for Ciri being the greatest unlikable girl boss in the history of gaming. My god, you have seen nothing, okay? She will absolutely girl boss her way too close to the sun, and it's gonna be beautiful.
The Witcher 3 is apparently getting a new DLC in 2026. And not just a little cosmetic update that lets you give Geralt a new haircut or something, but an actual full-blown story DLC that will bridge the gap between the ending of Witcher 3 and the beginning of Witcher 4. Now, the original, stressing the word original here because a lot more has recently come out, but the original source for this information was a Polish podcast. Several months ago on the...
Yeah, we heard this. This is happening because, I mean, nothing in The Witcher 4 makes sense, okay? Ciri, already one of the literally most powerful beings in the Witcher universe, only trumped by, what's their name? Elder vampires? Super vampires? You know, the ones that literally are completely indestructible, unless they're killed by their own kind. You know, yeah, that one's gonna be a fun one. Yes, Ciri, a character of that proportion is now a Witcher. You know, teleportation. That's weak. How about drinking a potion that makes you see slightly better in the night? Oh, yes. It's there is no way to make that make sense. There is absolutely no way. Not even talking about canon being destroyed, lore being rewritten, and a bunch of stupid activists saying, "Oh no, this was actually how it always worked." I love it when people lie to my face and expect me to just, sit there, take it, and be like, "Oh yeah, your lies are true." Ah, man, what a time to be alive.
Rock E. Boris show, they reported that CDPR were developing this DLC. They didn't know much more, whether it would be paid or free, how long it would be, or when exactly it would come out. They had just heard from multiple unnamed sources that this DLC was supposedly happening and that it would release before The Witcher 4. That was it though, that was the only source at the time, which is why...
What the hell is that?
I didn't cover it. From what I've researched, that podcast does have a very good track record when it comes to the news they break, but still, at the time, it was just a rumor from a podcast. I didn't want to clickbait you guys with a Witcher 3 DLC is coming video, and then only have a podcast to...
That is literally a Joy Raptor reference right there. This is 100% a Joy Raptor reference, because he does that. It's so big! Wow.
Video, and then only have a podcast to back it up. That said though, in more recent times, CDPR themselves have made multiple comments on this subject, to the point where, well, I would say, based on my own judgment here, that this Witcher 3 DLC is probably happening, but you can decide for yourself as we get into everything we know. First off, to start, we've known for a while from a public earnings call CDPR did earlier this year, the calls they do regularly where they let investors know what to expect, but in one of those calls, CDPR said that they have multiple projects in the works that...
God, CDPR are currently the champions of vague posting. Oh, projects many. Games plentiful. Stuff happening bountiful. Okay? CDPR is just non-stop vague posting. Have you seen our tweet of a calendar? Whoa! I wonder what that's gonna lead to. Literally leads to nothing in 2 years. Anything CDPR says currently is just making my ears bleed. That's honestly all they're good for nowadays. It's really sad, to be honest.
They haven't announced. Which, that part isn't surprising. At any given time, I'm sure they have at least a few mobile games and card games and that sort of thing in the works, but what was surprising is that in a later investor call, they said that one of those unannounced projects was being handled by Fool's Theory. And you probably know this, but Fool's Theory are the studio who are supposed to be making The Witcher 1 remake. It's kind of an interesting story there. Fool's Theory started out as a studio of ex-CDPR developers.
Okay, I was gonna actually talk about that if he didn't.
Ex-Witcher creators getting away from The Witcher and doing something different, but then before they'd even...
But no, that's actually not the story, but it's part of the story, okay? CDPR also is constantly lying. Their CEO has gone on record, I don't know how many times now, and said, oh no, all the people who made The Witcher and all of the things that you liked before we started getting Vogue Awards, hiring literal political activists, and shunning anything that even has anything resembling masculinity. Yeah, all of those, but still the good old CDPR that did stuff that you like. Those companies, those literal 5 companies that exist from ex-CDPR developers, and you know, the list that you can find online where someone's comparing current CDPR staff to old CDPR staff from the point of times of The Witcher 3 and Cyberpunk. Well, ignore the fact that most people who are no longer dead. Ignore that. More than half of them are gone. So what? We're still the good old CDPR you loved. Again, CDPR has absolutely no future. It is heading for pure destruction.
release their second game,
And the best kind, self-destruction.
CDPR announced The Witcher remake and that Fool's Theory would be the ones handling it, with CDPR having creative supervision. That was 4 years ago, though, and since that announcement, we've heard pretty much nothing about The Witcher remake other than we know it's coming out after The Witcher 4. I mean, if you go to Fool's Theory's website, they still have The Witcher remake as only being in early development. It's not even under full production yet, even though Fool's Theory don't have any other games in the works. At least, nothing that's been announced. Which leads me to all of the info that's broken in the past month or so. First off, in the most recent CDPR investor call, they were asked about The Witcher 1 remake and what was going on with it, because as someone who listens to all of the
was The Witcher 1 remake where they said, oh, obviously we need to, you know, tighten it up for modern audiences, you know, we need to remove a lot of things because, you know, it's a different time. You know, the good old spiel of we're gonna make everything you love bad because chuds.
investor calls, it really has seemed like The Witcher remake is just not a top priority right now, that it's kind of on the back burner at the moment. And what ended up getting revealed from that question about The Witcher remake is that currently, CDPR actually have more Fool's Theory developers assigned to this unannounced project than they do The Witcher remake. More importantly though, that number is more than 100. Over 100 developers from a studio founded by ex-Witcher devs are currently working on an unannounced project for CDPR.
Oh, and some of you are probably thinking, but wait a minute, Quasat. Doesn't that mean good? Doesn't that mean that the people who actually did make the good stuff are actually working on the new stuff? Technically, you're right, but you need to understand, they're there for a paycheck. And that does not necessarily mean anything bad by itself, but they're there for a paycheck from CDPR. Which means, well, CDPR has full oversight, so it's not like they have the freedom to make this stuff. Remember, it doesn't matter if a company once 20 years ago made a great game and then you have the same people making a new game. I mean, case in point, Obsidian Studios made Fallout New Vegas, lightning in the bottle, one of the best things since sliced bread in human history. Then they proceed to make the Outer Worlds and it's garbage. Then they proceed to make Avowed and it's worse. And the Outer Worlds 2 and it's even worse. There you go. It doesn't mean anything. Now, granted, admittedly, after the Outer Worlds 1, all of the people who made Fallout New Vegas also left the company because, you know, turns out it was just luck that Fallout New Vegas was good. But, you know, that's kind of it. That's how it goes.
And to take that another step further, later in the same call, CDPR said outright that work on The Witcher remake is very limited right now, only a small team are assigned to it, and that the focus is on the unannounced project, getting that put together for release. And speaking of release, just this month, someone on the Witcher 4 subreddit noticed that Fool's Theory have started posting job listings for a marketing specialist to help them launch a CDPR-related project.
Wow.
Someone to assist with PC and console releases, to attend promo events and trade shows, that sort of thing. Which, I think you would agree, would be a very strange hire for the Witcher remake right now, because it's still in the conceptual pre-production stage, which I agree is crazy considering it was announced 4 years ago, but that's just the case. No, it seems much more likely that this job would be related to promoting the unannounced project, the rumored Witcher 3 DLC or expansion, which has had even more come out about it in the past week, which we'll get to in just a second. First though, I do need to take a moment to thank my very favorite sponsor, Factor, for sponsoring this video. Okay, so just a few days ago, a significant financial report came out that really broke this Witcher 3 DLC story wide open. Long story short, Noble Securities, who are a Polish stockbroker, put out a piece advising potential investors to load up on CDPR stock. Because, from what they've gathered, between CDPR's financial projections for the next couple of years, plus everything they've put out there about—
Oh wow, a company on the stock market predicted that it's gonna make more money. Whoa, whoa, whoa! Unbelievable stuff right here. Holy moly. What if inflation goes up next year? Oh, whoa, that's some crazy stuff in predictions.
This unannounced project, but Noble Securities are projecting that the unannounced project is indeed a paid Witcher 3 DLC, which they're claiming will be released in May of 2026 and will cost $30. Personally, I'd take the specific—
Wait. A probably 5-hour storyline for a decade-old game is gonna cost $30? Baby! Man, by the way, it does make sense that it costs $30, not because it's gonna be worth $30, may I add. It's definitely not gonna be worth that, but because we know from CDPR's own statements about how much cash flow they need to get inside their company, that they need to launch something that churns out money. Because their current projections and trajectory that they actually have, with the money they have, the money that they have made, and the money that they need to make in the next couple of years, is looking pretty sus unless they, either release something big very, very soon, which it doesn't seem like that's happening, or they start releasing mobile games that are cash grabs. So, options.
there, May, and $30 with a grain of salt could be true, but who knows. From what I'm understanding, that part is just an educated guess in the broader context of— well, we actually talked about this over a year ago on the channel, but CDPR themselves projected a significant increase in profit for 2026. They said they project to bring in at least 2 billion zloty, that's the Polish currency of course, and I don't know, I always hear English people say zloty, or people that speak English say zloty. Feels like when Polish—
It's zlots. What the fuck? Who says zloty? I have never heard that.
people say it, it's more like zloty. I don't know, you guys can yell at me in the comments whether I'm saying it right, how to say it, whatever. But they projected 2 billion between 2023 and 2026, and that's in profit, by the way, which they're just not on pace for right now. There's 1 year left of the 4 from 23 to 26, and currently they still need to bring in almost 700 million of the 2 billion. Which, for example, let's say 2026 needed to bring in 670 million to hit their 2 billion projection. That would mean CDPR are expecting 2026 to bring in 200 million more than 2023 did, which, I'll remind you, 2023 was the year Phantom Liberty came out. How would 2026 do that unless there's something significant releasing? And keep in mind—
again, I'm not saying I predicted all of this, but I did, because, yeah, finances predict a lot of things, actually.
CDPR have already confirmed that Witcher 4 won't release in 2026. It's 27 at the earliest, which, of course, just leaves us with this mysterious project from Fool's Theory that has 100+ developers on it. I think it's pretty clear that that is what's likely to drop in 2026. But anyway, that is all of the confirmed information that's out there. I wanted to gather—
I like how Geralt can be like, Sparks, maybe, Harry Potter would be ashamed. And Ciri, in the meantime, is, I am the Avatar, master of all 4 womanly elements. Hear me roar. You gotta appreciate the fine details, you know?
it all in one place for you guys. And now, I just really want to hear what you guys think. More specifically, what would you want out of a Witcher 3 DLC 11 years later? Personally, I talked about this with some other Witcher fans when I was in the Czech Republic recently for a Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 event, but I would love to see a Witcher 3 DLC that kind of clears the runway for Witcher 4. That is what I'm hoping this Witcher 3 DLC will do, because...
Bro, what are you saying? Everyone knows that that's the point of the DLC. Like, what are we... Have you just not been paying attention?
Well, we know Ciri has multiple endings in Witcher 3, and we also know CDPR have said that they're gonna honor all of those endings in some way. Whether she's Empress, she's missing, or she's already a Witcher, they're going to acknowledge all of those endings and still lead into her being a Witcher by the time of Witcher 4. So what I would think would be a good idea is handling those Ciri endings within The Witcher 3. Pick up with Ciri where you left off in your own game, whether she's already a Witcher, or she didn't return to Geralt and is doing her own thing, or she's training to be Empress but having doubts, like she says she is in Blood and Wine.
Though, actually, just between you and me, I'm not certain I'm cut out to rule, govern, all that.
Thinking you might give it up?
I can't say just yet, but I'm not willing to rule it out.
Take those 3 endings in The Witcher 3 itself and give each a unique story that leads to a similar place, to Ciri.
Yeah, no, that is way too complicated to do. Unless it's like a throwaway thing.
Deciding to become, or already being a Witcher, realizing that protecting people is what she wants to do with her life. I can just envision a DLC that builds up to Ciri knocking on Geralt's door at Corvo Bianco, whether as someone Geralt hadn't seen in years because she disappeared in the bad ending, or as a defected Empress from the Empress ending, or as a fresh Witcher with limited experience from the Witcher-S ending. And from there, we could finally get a proper Witcher 3 quest where Geralt and Ciri go take on a contract together. To me, that general idea would be a beautiful Witcher 3 epilogue, and it would get everyone together on the same page as far as leading into Ciri's story in Witcher 4 goes. That's just my idea though. Maybe we'll get a whole DLC about Geralt making wine and playing Gwent, which I like, it really helps get
Based. Anyway, that was Neo Knight, 10 out of 10. Bye!